Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe to the channel for regular content on ancient architecture, as well as all of the latest news from the world of archaeology. Earlier this month, archaeologists Jorge, Calero, Flores and Mildred, Fernandez, Palomino announced the discovery of underground Inca tunnels below Cusco in Peru. It was announced at a press conference titled Chincana Revealing of a Mystery, and the news was shared across the world. A discovery that has long been rumoured, even expected, but never officially confirmed. Dubbed the Chincana de Cusco by the experts, Chincana meaning labyrinth or place where one gets lost in the native Inca language, the tunnel discovered runs from the Temple of the Sun, also known as the Coricancha in Cusco, all the way to the ancient fortress of Sacsayhuaman, which is located around 1 mile away. The tunnel was always thought to exist, and that's because of a number of eyewitness accounts, including one from an anonymous Spanish priest in 1594. He said the tunnel began at the temple and travelled beneath the bishop's house behind Cusco Cathedral and ended at Sacsayhuaman. Well, 429 years later, the priest has finally been proven correct. So, what do we know about this exciting discovery? Well, before I continue, I just want to plug my new tour of ancient Turkey, scheduled for October this year. If you'd like to join me in exploring sites like Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, Çatalhöyük, Hattusa, Derinkuyu and more, click the link in the pinned comment or description. My tour of Turkey last year was absolutely incredible. I loved every minute, and I hope to meet some of you in Turkey this year as we explore the ancient world together. You can sign up now at adeptexpeditions.com. Now back to the video. To map the tunnel system, the researchers used a number of geophysical methods, including ground-penetrating radar, and although there is one main tunnel running from the Coricancha to Sacsayhuaman, there are also a number of branches. The tunnel system is not particularly deep in the ground. According to the experts, the Inca would have dug a ditch, lined the walls with stone, and then laid stone or wooden beams over the top. For people that love the famous ancient architecture of Cusco and Sacsayhuaman, it's very possible we'll soon be seeing yet more examples of the famous polygonal masonry, the irregular blocks with perfect joints that thousands flock to see each year. The discovery shows the importance of teamwork. People with different backgrounds and specialities working together. The international team is made up of archaeologists, historians, geophysicists, civil engineers, as well as indigenous descendants of the Inca, all working together as one. The old Spanish account from the 16th century gave the team their starting points, with the bishop's house, the Coricancha and Sacsayhuaman being points of reference. But there are many more historic and even modern accounts that mention the tunnels, and these were also studied, allowing the team to focus their efforts in specific places. And it is quite strange, because the Cusco-Sacsayhuaman tunnel was once treated as almost pseudo-archaeological, a story or legend that wasn't taken too seriously by some. But now finally it's something that can and will be accepted by all. The tunnel system does exist. But Chincana tunnels in and around Cusco are not uncommon. It's well known the Inca built below ground as well as above. Although generally short in length, you can see examples today. You just need to know where to look. Some of them are cut straight from the bedrock, having a cave-like appearance. Others are man-made, with stone blocks lining the walls and ceiling, and some of them are part natural and part man-made. There are even YouTube videos that show their interior, and there are even stories about Peruvian authorities destroying others more than 100 years ago, to stop people from entering, getting lost and risking death. I've left a link to a fantastic video showing a tour guide called Freddy Apaza telling us all about the Chincanas, and this was published in 2022. As for the new discovery, at Sacsayhuaman, the entrance to the tunnel system can be found in the Rodadero Formation, a site known as the H-Temple, which I'm showing here on Google Earth. And on this diagram, you can see the routes the different tunnels take, one of which passes below the famous Cyclopean walls right here. Using the diagrams published by Peruvian authorities, I wanted to see this specific point right here, where the tunnel passes under the walls. And so I looked back at an old podcast that I did with Ben from Uncharted X and the Snake Bros, which was just under 4 years ago. Time certainly flies. And here it is. One of the tunnels passes under this region right here, and although I can't see anything of note, it is something to think about if you're visiting this site in the future. I do hope that a study in the future will look at the relationship between the walls of Sacsayhuaman and the tunnel masonry below, because to support the weight of the stonework above the tunnel, the roof would have to have been well engineered, unless of course the Chincana in this section is dug into the bedrock, which I expect is the case. For the main route though, from Sacsayhuaman all the way to Cusco, this is the path of the tunnel. If you pass by today, the roof is well hidden from view, but experts have found that in some sections the tunnel was unfinished. Instead of a roof, these sections appear as a cut in the hill, forming a kind of platform. Here we can see a 3D representation of the tunnel as it passes beneath the Sacsayhuaman esplanade. The experts have recorded the specific size and shape, and here it is in position, superimposed underground. From Sacsayhuaman to the northern limits of the city, the tunnel has 2 sharp bends and deviates a little, and this is likely because of geographical constraints, the natural topography. But once it reaches the northern limits of the city, the tunnel continues in pretty much a straight line all the way to its destination. Interestingly, the tunnel follows the old main road of the Inca. Again, the experts say the Inca dug the tunnel ditch, lined it with stone, and then covered it with stone or wooden beams. The line of beams would then become an overlying street or walkway. So basically, there was an overground and underground route, one on top of the other. The Inca also built a number of platforms on this old road, and these platforms apparently supported stone towers. These towers were likely the entry points into the tunnel. Back in the 1990s, Dr. Manuel Chavez Ballon, also known as the father of Cusco archaeology, said that archaeologists should look for the tunnel between the old platforms and under the old street. And well, 30 years later he's been proved correct, although sadly he passed away in the year 2000. Here is another 3D representation, this time of what was recorded with ground-penetrating radar beneath the city of Cusco, and it shows the tunnel had a trapezoid shape. The thought of building a stone-lined tunnel 1,750 metres long is mind-boggling. But really, the construction work should not be a surprise, because we know full well exactly what the Inca were capable of. But here I will of course acknowledge the alternative hypothesis that before the Inca there was once a more advanced culture at Cusco, and they were responsible for the elaborate stonework we see, and some people that I consider my friends do strongly believe this. And I don't mind people having ideas that differ to my own, so I will acknowledge it right here, to say that there is already speculation that tunnels may predate the Inca, and that they were simply reused and renovated by the later culture. But if I'm honest, I personally don't believe it, for reasons I've discussed in the past. One of which is that according to the experts, before Cusco was an imperial Inca city, as late as the 1200s AD, part of it was basically a swamp. Apparently, before the Inca, the land would only have been suitable for small farming communities, and not a large powerful city with stunning stonework. It was only after the canalisation of the rivers that bound the city, which apparently was the work of the Inca, that allowed the swampy land to dry out, and new imperial building projects could begin. Just before the imperial Inca times, there was a building phase at both Cusco and Sacsayhuaman, and this is known as the Proto-Inca, with its diagnostic Quechua pottery. So I guess the tunnel project could have started then, but I would still expect it to be later, after the land had dried out and when Cusco became an imperial city. Before the Proto-Inca phase, there really isn't any datable evidence of an advanced culture at Cusco. From 700 to 1500 BC, the Marsaval culture did live in the boundaries of the old Inca capital, but their stonework is very different to anything we attribute to the Inca. Whatever the truth, and I'll remain open to anything within reason, I'm just glad the tunnels are now confirmed scientifically, and their presence can be accepted by all. It will hopefully lead to a new era of discovery. Maybe artefacts will be found inside, maybe human remains, or just something that can tell us something new about the Inca. And speculation will now arise as to exactly how the tunnel system was used. Was it a strategic installation with a military use, maybe a place to hide and escape through if the city was overcome by invaders? Or maybe a place to hide in before springing an attack? Or was it a place where the Inca were hiding their treasure and codices? Was it a way to move the Inca royalty and dignitaries from the city to Sacsayhuaman without being seen? Could there have been a symbolic subterranean religious route from one site to the other? Regarding the Chincanas of Cusco, there are already many stories, myths and legends, and one of them says they did once contain the treasures of Cusco, to hide it from the invading Spanish. But I doubt anything too precious will be found inside today. As stated, there are already many stories of people going inside, and although this is technically a new discovery, I don't think it's come as a surprise, because it was expected. And if people have known about them for centuries, it would be wise to assume that any artefacts that were kept inside have long been looted. But from an architectural perspective, it is still a great discovery, because finally the tunnel is mapped out with geophysics. We know the route of the main tunnel exactly. And there will be even more work to do to see exactly how the tunnels branch, how long they are and where they lead to. And could other famous Inca sites like Machu Picchu and Ollantaytambo also be hiding secrets below ground? Stories certainly exist, but it would be great to confirm them once and for all. It's truly an exciting time for Peruvian archaeology, and I can't wait to see new pictures from inside the tunnels and find out more. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.